Alright, so moving on to part two. The first issue we have is with the Carrack, and we've got one cargo refactor that has come and went, and we're about to have a second one, and this thing still cannot be loaded and unloaded except via the magical freight system, which is, in my understanding, going away and being heavily scaled back. And there's no way to get cargo in and out of these modules at all, because the only way into them is via a man-sized door and a catwalk running through here. And this, the solution requires a small model edit. It's pretty simple, in my opinion. And you do not need to go through the whole, gold standard rework, doing everything, blah, blah. No, you don't got to do that. Just make the floors of these three different modules have a toggleable button in each one of the module bays, and make them drop down like the Connie does. Obviously, you have to edit the cargo grid to account for the catwalk. So maybe you have an area that's not valid, or has a thing on the UI that says, hey, this will interfere with the catwalk if you place it here, and has a red rejection box for trying to stack things that would interfere with the catwalk. But if these things can come down and get access from the ground, so you can put things in and out of them, I mean, that's a quick and easy fix. It does require some button adding and a little bit of model editing if it's not already there and just disabled. I mean, I don't know. I know this is pretty old. I don't know how much has been done to it that's just not enabled for live. But this thing needs to be fixed. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is we have the Cyclone MT and TR in the game. You can put energy weapons on them, but you can't power them at all. Now, I don't know if these things are supposed to be kinetic only, but I mean, come on, what's the point of having customization if you can't customize things? You're telling me a three-person vehicle can't find a little bit of power to run a single size 1 energy weapon when we have one-man bikes that are a third the size that can run 2 of them? I mean, come on, please do away with that silly shenanigans and fix the turret so it can be powered. I mean, even this thing can run lasers and energy weapons, and it's another one of these tiny little vehicles. I believe even the Origin can do it. Yeah, even the Origin can do it. It's got power for one of these guns. So, why can't the TR and Cyclone? So please fix those. Fix the Carrack, and then moving on to the next issue, the Constellation Taurus. I mentioned that the Connie Taurus had different hull HP sections, and they were 10K as opposed to the other Constellation's 20K. Now, I'm just realizing that as I'm going to record this video that Urkel has changed, and it is no longer showing those sections, which is very unfortunate because it makes this this video really hard to do. But I would just go in and double check and make sure each different section is equal to that of the other Connies or wherever it's supposed to be. I'm not really sure why the Taurus had 10K hull HP sections and the other ones didn't. I think the front and backs, the nose and the rear, did get changed to 20K like they were supposed to. But last time I checked on Urkel, and Urkel may not be updated. I think it is. I hope it is. But I'm just trying to look over your work, guys, from the outside. But because this has been a problem for a long time. But I think the central sections were left at 10K in the hull, and that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. Moving on, we have missiles. Now, missiles in size 3, 4, and 5 have been a huge problem for a while now. I believe the original reason that the size 3 through 5 missiles were nerfed is because back in the day when you guys did the great flattening and the, we'll rebalance the weapons soon TM stuff, missiles had splash damage, and the splash damage was sniping and knocking out modules on ships, and you were just now bringing the components for the ships online and cutting them in, and the splash damage was permeating through that and knocking them out because they had really low hit points, and also because, I mean, it was a really early rendition of bringing that stuff online in the game and functional. So rather than fixing that, you guys just did a quick and dirty and chop the damage of size 3 missiles down, size 4 missiles down, and size 5s. So there's really no reason to run any size 3 through 5 missile in any of these ships instead of just running mass smaller missiles. Now, the size 1, 2, 7, and 9, all of those are fine. The issue is, as I said, 3 through 5. So I really think you need to just go back to the old damage numbers to fix that. I think that'd be the easiest thing to do. So size 3 missiles, depending on like which version you're using here, the damage range for them would be between 5.5 and 7k damage. And I know at some point the missiles are going to get a more in-depth tweak for lock range, velocity, all kinds of stuff, tracking ability. That's not now. But in the short term, there needs to be a reason to run a larger missile as opposed to just multiple smaller ones. So, like I said, size 3 needs to go to between 5.5 and 7k. Size 4s are the absolute worst right now. I mean, there's no point in taking a size 4 at all. I mean, size 4s are like, look at that. It's only like 1k more than size 3s even. I mean, they're just horrible. They're absolutely horrible. So size 4 missiles back in the day were between, want to say like 13k or 11 to 13k damage for a size 4. That sounds about right. Maybe 11 to 14 was the range. Doesn't matter. That needs to go back to that. And then the size 5 missiles are just abysmal. And it's more than just damage. I'll go into that in a second. Just let me finish my spiel on the size 5s. So these things these are micro torpedoes. These things are supposed to hurt, and they're supposed to be doing damage to things like Connies, Corsairs, things of that nature. Multiple bombers attacking something like a hammerhead and getting multiple hits in there. The problem is, these things were basically cut in half. The old damage range for this thing was, I believe, 23 to 27k. The new damage range for these things needs to go from about 26 to about 29k. Should be the damage range for these. And there's two reasons. One, again, you did this back when modulas were getting sniped and stuff. I think that's mostly fixed. But there's another new system that has come online since then, or things have like shifted with the ratios, and that is the shield bypass mechanic. 30% of the damage from these missiles is, as far as I know, is impacting shields. So that already cuts this down from 15k down to, we'll say, 15.5 times 0.7. There you go. So now that's down to 10k. So now your missile's doing 10k. But wait, it gets worse. Now, hull damage is 50% on everything. Just a flat reduction. Just a flat, nasty 50% reduction. So now, not only are these missiles weaker than they used to be, but now they have to go through all these bleed-through mechanics that just shave off massive amounts of damage. And now, not only does the missile have to not get dodged, not get decoyed, and not get desynced, but now I have to hit every single missile I can possibly fire at you, and they have to have a 100% hit rate into the exact same hull section of something like a Connie, and then I have to land 4 shots to the Connie in that same hull section to kill it with torpedoes, which should frankly really only take 2 hits. So increasing the damage would help. And then the other thing is, I know it's just playing with the ratios and you guys want to like do some armor stuff later on, but in the short term, I really do think that lowering the shield bypass for kinetics only, not for missiles. For missiles, I would leave it at a 0.7, so 70% bleed through, and then for kinetics, I would move it down to like 50% or bleed through. So from 70% bleed through down to 50%. That will allow the shields to soak more damage and allow kinetics to help deplete shields more. And then if you lower this here from 50 to 30%, doing those two together results in a no net change, or no difference in the before and after of shooting at a shield while it is up with a kinetic weapon. So if you lower this is one of those things that's kind of hard to do unless you're, typing it out. So basically, leave missiles at 70% bleed through. Change kinetic weapons to 50%. Lower hull resists down to 30%. So when I have 100 damage, for example, and I shave off 50%, that's 0.5, you know, there's 50 damage, and now I'm subtracting 30% from this, so 0.7, that's 35. That's 30% off. I mean, the other way to do it, just in case you like don't know what I did there, we'll say it's 30%, that's 15. 15 minus 50, it's, I mean, that's going to be negative the way I did it, but it's still 35. So 35 is the damage. So that's while the shields are up using the new system. Using the old system, we have, say, 100 damage, hits a shield, 0.7, 70% gets through, 30% gets stopped, and then that gets cut in half by the hull, it's still 35. So as you can see, it's still 35 at the before and after. Again, the key difference here is that shields deplete more when there is a 50% bypass than there is when there is a 70% bypass, because now I'm taking 20% more damage to my shield facings. So this is more rewarding for the player that strips the shields first and then goes to shoot the hull, because the main kicker here isn't the 50% just flat reduction. That's lowered to a 30. So there's a little bit more skill and active gameplay involved in taking out shields first. It also allows missiles with limited supply to be left at 70% and be able to, even when the shields are up, do a little bit more damage than they do now by lowering the hull resist from 50 to 30. So I mean, it's really good for all of that. And then you can even, you know, factor in scenarios like I'm part of a group and we want to focus down an enemy, and now our combined weapons fire is still doing the same damage to a shielded target as it did before, but now maybe his shields might collapse in the engagement, whereas before it was possible to kill things without ever dropping their shields, and against larger targets, things with ballistics couldn't really contribute to helping strip them. So I know it's like a very niche numbers tweak thing, but it's a very important one, and I hope I've done a good job of articulating that and going over that. But yes, please change the bypass rate, please change the missiles, fix those, and I mean, the only other thing that I have to talk about is things like the Gladiator here. Like, the Gladiator is, I mean, kind of ignore some of this text, it's old, but as you can see, the pylons here are physically larger than the outer pylons. However, this is a size 321, and this is a size 321. This is also a size 3 gun. The problem is, the Gladiator was sold to us as a missile truck, and I don't have the picture in front of me, and I wish I did, because I could show you. In fact, I'm going to go get it. Hold on. See, the problem is the Gladiator was initially shown to us in this configuration here. So 15 and 14. So 14 is size 3 missiles. That is never going to happen. And 15 is a size 5 torpedo. Now we could say hypothetically that this is the T8A Gladiator. I mean, this still is a smaller missile rack than this is, so this shouldn't happen. This should be a quad size 2 instead of a quad size 3. And this could be a size 5 torpedo. So we'll just call this the T8A Gladiator. Problem is, this configuration is completely impossible. We don't have the T8A, and the civilian version is even worse, when these both are size 3s. So if we go here, I mean, this is another really old image, ignore all this stuff and what's written on there. But you can see there's a size 3 missile here, and there's a size 4 missile here. And you can see a size 4 gun that I've put here, and this is a size 3. Like, this, in terms of like what looks good on the vehicle, size 4 is perfect for this thing. Size 3 is way too small of a gun. And in the future, when armor comes out and is keeping out damage, you're going to want slightly larger guns on a bomber/attacker like this than you would, say, running size 3s, which size 3s, when armor comes out, are probably not going to be able to deal with anything bigger than a heavy fighter. But a size 4 is probably going to be able to deal with things up to and including constellations and sub-corvettes and stuff like that, depending on how it's configured. A bomber isn't a fighter. A fighter needs a lot of little guns and a lot of DPS. A bomber needs to trade that for fewer, heavier guns with more punch. So this increasing the gun size, in addition to looking better, just fits the archetype better, both now and in the future when armor comes online. And you can do this without having to do a gold standard or do any kind of rework. All you got to do is just increase this inner pylon on the civilian variant of the THC that we have now to a size 432, 1. This can stay the same. This needs to be upgraded to a size 4 weapon, and then you just obviously do the same over here. We do have an issue with the bomb racks that I would like to be looked at and fixed. We cannot swap the missiles in this thing, even for other size 5s, and we cannot buy replacement bomb racks. So this thing has a tendency to take damage, and then for whatever reason, sometimes even if you spawn a new one, not only does it not get repaired when you go to repair, but even if you spawn a new one, you still come with a rack that is empty. So it's missing the rack, and the weapons are gone completely, and it's impossible to fix. I know that's like a tech log bug. It's a pain to deal with, but please fix that. I'm begging you. I'm just trying to bring the stuff to you guys' attention so you can hopefully shoehorn it in. If not in this patch, then in the 0.1 patch. I mean, I know we're kind of cutting the envelope here close, but in my opinion, I mean, this is the optimal configuration for this ship. Not only for the, like I said, the armor stuff, but also play better into the archetype of what it's supposed to be. Because this is a light bomber built on like a medium fighter frame, a modified one, of course. And the Harbinger, which is another issue, that is a medium torpedo bomber built on a heavy fighter frame, but the Harbinger has even less torpedoes than this thing does, which is really sad. I mean, you guys have the Hoplite, which doesn't have those beds in there. I say, and I know this requires a model edit, and this isn't something that's quick and easy like this one is, but if it was up to me, I would say just rip the beds out of the Harbinger and add another triple stack of torpedoes. I mean, if you actually pull one up and look at it, you'll see it. I don't have it in front of me here, but yeah, I've rambled on long enough. I've taken up tons of your time. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope and pray you guys take care of this. I don't know if you will or not, but I'm really hoping you will. Please consider it. Thank you. Have a good day.